24th, and I'd like to discuss a little bit about my country model and some things I've noticed. Man, the music's so loud. I'll have Norse map on the background while I do this. As you've all noticed, the ethnic states in the north that are the Nordic standard states aren't actually our states, in that they aren't actually multi-ethnic like we are, and they aren't multicolored like we are. Both of those may be points worth mentioning in separate. So we are, in the model that you notice that I'm slowly turning into a country, because I know how to turn it into a country, we are perhaps a country of contradictions, or perhaps a future power in the region, because we've had the single ethnic colored aliens before, especially the Nordic guys, and nobody liked their worldview, so nobody really liked what they had to offer. So there are now other aliens. I'm checking for Windows updates at the same time, but it's going to take a long time. Now, you all have no region of contradictions and opposites, because we don't, for example, like the high immigration numbers that many Western societies currently receive, while we at the same time believe tourists should have the right to vote. Because if a war breaks out while you're a tourist here, it's going to hit you as well as it's going to hit everybody else. So we believe tourists should have the right to vote. We believe the voting age should be as low as possible, and that the retirement age should be as low as possible. It's perhaps a land of contradictions. You can work after you become retired, but they have to pay you extra. We're talking about when the system starts paying you 150% or 200% to your normal wage. These are all fairly meaningless because we don't have minimum wage, so that's why a lot of people, at least for example in this service center, work for €2 an hour. And they do good work. We also believe that children should have the right to vote, but that this system doesn't yet accurately convey that possibility, so our voting age is 15. I would hold it at perhaps somewhere along the lines of 1 year after we start primary education. That seems smart. You have a year to get your stuff together, and then somebody has to ask you who should lead the country and who you think should lead your region. And it isn't that difficult to write some of your preferences into an election testing machine and have it say what you should vote for. Like, these candidates were close to your opinion and these were far from your opinion. And then it says that this candidate belongs to this party, and so on and so on and so on. So you pick the party you kind of like and the candidate you like. A lot of people, when they were 10 years old, were eating mud, but there is always the exception to the rule, and that's why democracy is made. We believe the exceptions to the rule should have more say. They seem to be on about something. It seems to develop a sentience most to associate with the out group, so we believe it should be the inherent goal of our democracy to start to get the out group to have a say. But once again, we're a land of contradictions. So we believe tourists should have the right to vote and children should have the right to vote because our democracy isn't complete without that. We also believe that our foreign aid should be a bit higher as a compensation for having a high policy of no immigration. Because in the initial plan for the European Union, which is the European Union we initially joined, because I voted for joining the European Union, but I have voted against the Lisbon Treaty, meaning that I kind of think we should separate from the Union at this point because its laws have become unfit for us. The initial European Union law was that immigrants fleeing war are housed in the country they enter the European Union through, so that if they enter through one barrier, they aren't allowed into the internal parts of the European Union where the actual wealth is. And so these rich countries in the center actually pay these countries on the exterior to have the refugee status of these people upheld well. So that used to be the initial plan, so that us in the center wouldn't have to tolerate the crime and wouldn't have to change our societies, but that the people on the edges would also get very rich from actually being tolerant, and that way we would pay them to be tolerant of each other. That was the initial plan. But that's become something of a different story now. So, now that you've all seen what kind of an alien I am, I hope I'm still allowed to be here. Nobody hunts me. The biggest danger to me is the ever-changing nature of reality. I have to consistently learn new things when I would prefer not to know them. Buildings are redesigned too often. And you don't have to, as an environmentalist, worry about the US going back on its treaties. That's not how environmentalism works. That's not how the economy works. They will just reduce the price of renewables for everybody else, and by the time they start to do it again, they will be at a serious disadvantage. They are, in essence, helping the rest of the world, because environmentalism as a movement is much larger than the United States as a country in terms of population numbers. That's what you need to look at. So all it's doing is causing the price of renewable power sources everywhere to go down. And it may even save us from some of the resource shortages, because some of those things that people make solar panels out of, for example, are running out as metals. So it's actually a fairly good thing. Well, not a good thing, it's a neutral thing. If we want to do this, the first step is to buying the entire Amazon rainforest and transforming it into a nature park. That's the only step to prove that you're actually serious. That's why the online charities where you click at the banner ads to make money for actual rainforest purchases are what we need. We could literally buy the rainforests. Then we could start talking about something else. Also, my Windows is up to date. And I don't have an official version of it, even though I could get one. I'm using an unofficial version. It constantly reminds me that it is an unofficial version and that I should get the real version. How polite. So that's the kind of country that we're talking about here. That's our alien group introduction, if everybody's still with me and understands what I'm doing. Also, I returned one of the patrons' cash. When one of those rooms was about to be cleaned, and I was living in the room with like 7 other people, and there was some cash on the floor, and the cleaning lady would have taken it. I took it before she had the time to take it, and I found out who it belonged to, and I today mentioned to them that I had some of their money, and I should probably return it, and they were like really hyped about it. Like, what? I'm getting money? So yeah, we are a country of opposites. It's hard to think of making your own country, but I have to say it's quite likely at this point the only choice. Because we just don't feel like the monoethnic countries of the North are for us. They don't feel like they are our country. There are also some other things in the culture that doesn't join with us. And we believe that the changes we're proposing are so large that they would, in essence, destroy the countries in a way that we wouldn't prefer, so we will just make it like this. You may slowly notice our kind of presence increasing. This is, by the way, set 33 part 2. I may be getting a house in the forest, like deep in the forest. It's a villa with 4 bedrooms and 250 square meters, and I will get one of the bedrooms. And hopefully, since it sounds like it has things like internet connection, and I can actually get on games like Eve again, because the city internet doesn't allow me to go through to these computer games. Because if I actually get on Eve and manage to get my act together, I will be making more money there than I will with my normal work. Climate change is an interesting problem. There are many ways it could be easily solved. A Russian plane shot down in Syria. What? Huh. Wow. Nobody knows. So anyway, if there's nothing else about the project, then I'll close this here. By the way, the most watched video of my channel of these podcasts is the one of me sleeping. Interesting. You pervs. So anyway, that's the state that we'll be making. Tourists get to vote, but we don't like a lot of people entering. But we still like tourists, or